Steve mentioned a lot about the daily and what it is that we sort of have been intending to do as we started out, and took some of the thunder from my first slide. But I have pretty pictures, so damn it, I'm going to talk about it anyway. We launched the daily almost exactly a year ago. And one of the concepts, sort of driving concepts behind it, was that you take a look at newspapers and how they kind of translate into tablets. And the best ones, and I think the Wall Street Journal, I think the New York Times are terrific. The best ones look like newspapers, right? You look at some magazines and some of the translation onto tablets, and again, a lot of them look like magazines, and we thought that the way that people consume content on these devices is different. It's different from how they consume it online. It's different from how they consume magazines and books and newspapers. And so the idea, the concept was, if you took some of the best journalists, original journalists and writers, designers, developers, game designers, videographers, photographers, put them in a room and said, we want you to create original content, 100 pages, it's more like 120 pages of original content every day for the tablet device, what would that look like? And it looks a lot like this. I mean, these are just some examples of some articles and covers we have. And to Steve's point, we've learned a lot. And I want to take you through some of the things that I think we're doing right, some of the things I think that we've been doing wrong that we'd fixed, and what we've learned along the way. Now, we always, I can't sort of speak without somebody saying, well, how many subs do you have, and what are your numbers? And so I figured I would just get that out of the way up front. We've got about 250,000 at this point monthly readers of the daily. It costs, we charge weekly, it costs 99 cents a week or $40 for an annual subscription. And paid subscribers is at 100,000 paid subs. And over half of them are annual, which actually did surprise us. We priced at 99 cents because we thought that would be a very easy price point for mobile, for tablets. There's a whole wealth of content priced at 99 cents. Consumers who like the product understood that they would save money by doing it annually, and so they have. And I know we've heard a lot about engagement today and a lot about engagement on tablets. We see the same thing, right? Average time spent, 20, 30 minutes per day per reader, right? Average reader reads about 3-4 times a week, spends 20, 30 minutes with the device. Steve mentioned that we were tops in the App Store. We're number one. We're the number one subscription in the App Store. In fact, for the past few days, we've been the top grossing iPad app overall for that day. For 2011, we were the third top grossing to Angry Birds and the Smurfs. This was our Christmas card. If you didn't get one, here's what it looks like. If you didn't get a Christmas card, feel free to find anybody from our sales team sitting in the first 3 rows here, and we're happy to send you one next year. But we've asked people. We've done a lot of surveys. We are a very data-driven organization, right? And so we use a company called Localytics to track what everybody does in the app, to track how they use the app, to track what features and functionality works better than others. And we do a lot of surveys, and we do a lot of focus groups and polls. And we did one with Magid and Associates where we segmented our audience. And these are just some examples of some of the segments. There's the early adopters, news junkies who read a lot of news, people who are informed, who read less, mainstream on both sides of that. And we asked people what they liked about the daily, or how they described it, actually. This question is, how do you describe the daily? People that we know read it. And what the two things that sort of came to the surface for us, one of them were people called it unique. They subscribed because it was unique, because it didn't look like anything else. And it was one of the worries that we had, and I know others have in the tablet space. It's kind of like, as people are moving from paper to tablets, as people are changing their habits, our thesis is that there's an opportunity for new brands and new products to come in and sort of inject themselves into that moment of change, and to do so by not looking like things that existed in the past. And the other one, which was a really big one, an important one for us, had to do with graphics, video, photos. I mean, it's something that we heard very early on, and we sort of, I think, understood very early on about tablet devices, is that photos look amazing, right? And there's a lot you can do with them if you're creating them specifically for tablet devices. And so, to show you some examples of like the kinds of things that we do with photography that gets a lot of attention. We'll take a two-screen image and allow people to sort of explore and highlight through it. We have a photo team, we have original photography, we also have photo editors that go out and find the best stuff out there and some unique stuff out there. And we'll take people through slideshows. We do a lot of slideshows that are very popular. Some of our most popular content are people consuming news in a visual way. We allow people to do, this is Palin's daughter, Bristol, and the question was, did she get plastic surgery or not? And so we let you do a sort of before and after, and you can tell for yourself. And that kind of interactivity, it can be fun and funny. It can also be serious. I mean, this was after the bomb explosion in Oslo, right? To sort of go back and forth and see what the scene looked like before and after is a feature that we've had for a while. That's been quite popular. I have to say, animal photography and animal photos and stories about amazing dolphins and cute puppies been very successful for us as well. We cover serious news, but we also we don't necessarily take ourselves too seriously. We have news, we have gossip, we have sports, we have a section on arts and life, we have an apps and tech section. And one of the goals is to be fun, right? We want to make people think, we also want to make people smile and laugh, and doing that on a daily basis is our challenge. I don't know if you guys can see it from where you are, but like this is an article about paratroopers and the sky sort of moving behind it. Those types of touches and that type of flourish is something that gets a lot of commentary and comment from our audience. It's something that is often shared by them. And that's another thing that we've done is we've made it really easy to share content. And frankly, we probably could have made it easier when we launched, so that we've gotten better and better at it, so that if you are reading the daily, and if you see one of these sort of these cinemagraphs, the still images where the thing is kind of moving in the back, you can tweet it, you can post it to Facebook, you can share it with a friend. We've built a Facebook app to allow that content to be shared easier. Some content, not as easy to share, right? We do a lot of kind of gameplay, right? Stuff like, this is a quiz, right? Where you're basically saying, you're dragging, who you think is the best runner, or who you think is the best thrower, or whatever. We do a weekly news quiz. We have Sudoku. We have crossword. That is very unique to the tablet device. An amazing photograph you can share online. An article you can share with friends. Something like this, much harder to share, but it also is unique to our product. It's why people like using the product. It's why one uses a tablet. It's one of the reasons they use a tablet in the first place. It's one of the things that we kind of say as our marketing message. We're the reason you bought an iPad. This is an example of a beer where you kind of click down. You can see one of our writers' picks every week. He makes he does football selections. Another thing, which was very important, and again we knew would be important. We just didn't realize how important it would be, is original video. Right? We do highlight a viral video. We'll cover stories on YouTube like others, but we have an original video team. We actually brought over a couple of people from ABC News. We've set up a studio, and we shoot original HD video every day, and that's something that is it's watched a lot by our audience. I mean, I think on average it's something like a 30–40% watch rate on our videos. Those who start, about 60% make it to the end. And again, in retrospect, not a huge surprise. The iPad is an amazing device for video viewing, and to have new original videos every day is a tremendous benefit. So this is a short clip to sort of show some of what our video looks like, some examples of the stuff that we've done over the last year.
The Daily is awesome. I like that the Daily exists.
I love the sizzle reels. Something that also surprised us is who our audience is, who audiences for tablets are. I might have thought a year ago that there's 24-year-olds and they live in Williamsburg and they're hipsters and they have tablets and they're using them to look at the news and what have you. More likely, it's their parents that have these devices. We look at our audience and we find our sweet spot. They're between 35 and 50 years old, right? It's not people who are 18. It's people who are, who are in their 30s, their early 40s. They graduated college. They tend to be married. They have children, right? They've got 1 or 2 kids. They're not cheap devices. iPads are not inexpensive devices, and so having a household income of $100,000, $200,000, that in that range is sort of where I think we live, right? Where in terms of you have the device, probably you have a data plan, you subscribe to a couple of things. Talking about families that live in the suburbs, as much as, if not more than the cities. Definitely news consumers, right? That's key for us. But also they use the internet more than the general population. The people who describe themselves as early adopters, they might not be heavy Twitter users. They might not be that, that edge of it. But they do use Facebook. They do use YouTube. They do, have more than one news application on their device. They watch TV on demand. They watch pay-per-view on cable. They have connected TVs. And in terms of where they are, and this is a map that we've published, you might have seen. Again, I would have told you New York, San Francisco, LA. We have as many subscribers between Florida and Detroit than we do on the West Coast. Texas is big for us. It's not the 24-year-old hipster in Williamsburg. It's their parents who live in Royal Oak, Michigan, right? And that is it's a big market, and it's a market that again is, I think, growing in terms of tablet consumption, and was an interesting learning for us. Another learning that we had, which in retrospect makes sense, is the notion of not being overly complex about what it is we do. This is an example of this beautiful navigation that we launched with. It's a carousel, and you can spin through the carousel, and you land on a news story, and you can click through the news story, and nobody used it. And it was complex, right? It's actually not a great navigation device, as beautiful as it is. So we moved off of that to a very simple table of contents, right? Where you kind of go up and down, and you can see what's in that day's edition and click right through it. A big video briefing, right? We start each time you open the app. There's 2 things actually. One is we just launched this News Bits, right? Small pieces of news, you're able to get all of the news from the day in one place, click through to see more about it, with a video briefing, right? So you can sort of prop it up and you can watch it. It's funny, we asked people what this replaces, right? Like, what are you reading this instead of reading? And people, some of the responses that we got back are saying, well, I'm watching the news brief, before I turn on the Today Show. And it's interesting, because again, tablets are very interesting. But it's not, this is a digital newspaper replacing newspapers. This has video on it, this has photography on it, this has text on it, and it can eat into all of those things. Another thing is not being too subtle, right? We have comments, right, and the ability to have community and chat, and people sort of comment about stuff. And some articles get lots of comments, and some articles don't, and that's what happens. But when we ask, right, when we say, what do you think about this? We call it a sound off, right? And we have that little button right at the top. We'll get hundreds of responses, right? And our community, has begun to feel very strongly about what it is that we put that around during the royal wedding. I don't know if you recall, but Prince William wouldn't wear a ring, right? And we said, do you think that's good or bad? And one of the first comments of people saying, this is trivial. How dare you have a sound off about this? And we're like, okay, that's great. You feel ownership of this. That's terrific. You know what? You own it. We're going to listen to you and what you have to say. Same thing with touching images. Again, it's sort of a simple thing, but we had the ability that any image that you touched in the whole daily, you could touch it, and it would take up and fill up the screen, except nobody knew that, right? So we began to put a simple icon saying, tap photos for full screen, right? And suddenly we're seeing more interactivity around that. The same thing with video. We had a subtle play button in the bottom right. I don't know if you can see on this page, the video screens themselves are really small, right? People don't see, it turns out, small screens, right? The tablets are big, beautiful devices, but still that's too small to know I'm supposed to push that button to play it. So we've done away with those, and we now have like large videos with big screens. Another thing that we've learned, and we've seen this on the Daily, but also my colleagues and other publications tell me the same thing, which is for all the navigational tools that you provide, the behavior that we see the most of, turning the pages, swiping through the pages, right? Whether you're looking at the New Yorker, or you're looking at Wired, or you're looking at the Daily, or you're looking at the Journal, it's not a website, right? We're not recreating the web on these devices. If anything, it's more akin to reading, right? The device that you hold in your hand and turn pages for. People who navigate primarily via the table of contents, who go to an article, back to the table of contents, go to an article, back to the table of contents. That's 4-5% of our navigation. Some people start at the beginning and go backwards, right? 8% of the people actually go, they'll say, oh, I like the gossip section, and now I'm going to go backwards through gossip into news, right? More than you'd think. But the primary use case, right, is sit it down, open it on, swipe through the pages, right? It's a magazine, it's a book, it's something with pages that turn, which again was very interesting to us. Working with advertisers is something that we've also kind of been learning a lot about as we go along, and I know that this has been a large topic of conversation, throughout the day today. One of the things that's important, this has a laser pointer, I discovered. I can actually push up here and do this, which I've never done in a presentation. I'm very excited about. But transparency is key. There's going to be a panel after I speak in which I don't doubt that will be a topic of conversation on the panel. There are a lot of publishers who have lots of different digital products and work with advertisers and agencies and don't necessarily break out a print reader from a digital reader, or an iPad reader from a digital reader, or what have you. We're only one thing, right? We're the iPad app. So we have to be transparent. We don't really have a choice, and just give whatever data we have, right? So whether it's impressions, or whether it's opens, or whether it's reads, we're very, very transparent about that, which is something that we'd frankly like to see more of in general in the industry. Another is working with advertisers to create and develop creative, something I think we just heard about before I came on, where we have tools to develop and to publish all of the pages that we do. We sometimes find it easier to use our tools to make ads. I mean, some of the ads, these are just examples of some of our creative. Some of the ones up here we've put together with advertisers. And not every advertiser do we develop their creative, and some are very persnickety and don't want us to, and some would love us to, and it runs the gamut. But being open to that and actually having a staff that does that has been very beneficial. Standardization is important as well. I mean, one of the things that you hear from advertisers is, I don't want to pay, 80 grand for a media buy and then have to pay 100 grand to make the ad, right? And what we've done, certainly within News Corp, is work with the Post and work with the Wall Street Journal and others to make it easy so that if you have created a piece of an iPad ad, it can run across multiple of those publications. And we're beginning to work with other publishers to make sure that that's true across the board. Because we don't want the sort of an advertiser to have to customize for every publication. It doesn't make sense. That's not scalable. Our perfect world is when the advertiser comes and says, "Oh, MediaPost is our partner, one of our partners for advertising." We love it when an advertiser says, "Oh, I work with MediaPost. They're great. I already have these ads. We're looking for media." Right? And then it's not a question of what creative works, what creative doesn't. And that sort of speaks to the final bullet, which is there's many ways to buy and sell. Still, it's some advertisers, very digital focused, very CPM focused. How many impressions can you guarantee? What's the CPM? Others come more from have more of a magazine background or point of view. What's your circ, right? How many readers do you have? Some are sponsors, primarily sponsors. Tiffany, for example, just sponsored our fashion coverage. They were sponsored the royal wedding as well. They own a section and a piece of content, and we've found a lot more of that happening as well. That's an area that's growing for us. It's growing even beyond the Daily itself. We have created in the last few months, some custom publications. I mean, one of the interesting things that we sort of discovered, having been out there for a while, is we have a publishing platform, right? We make something that looks different every single day. We have a marketing platform, right? We have 250,000 people that see this thing on a monthly basis, who have iPads, who download apps. We have an editorial team, right, that can create content for these devices. I got one more short video. I know you want to get up. So these are some examples of some apps that we've put out this year. We did a college bowl preview app with Fox Sports. We did a gadget guide, like a gift guide, where you could actually go through. This is right before Black Friday. You could go through and purchase things right from the iPad app. This is downloaded a few 100,000 times. I mean, this was one of the more downloaded, more successful magalogs or catalogs, and we just sort of teased the trailer for something that we're working on that I wanted to show you. I don't know if you can see that. That is a tiny little angry bird. That they have a game called Space that's launching. They haven't said much more about it. We announced that we're working with them on a guide to this game that will release right before the game. That's the kind of thing that I think you'll be seeing a lot more from us, certainly going forward. And finally, before the Q&A, I keep talking about iPads. We're all talking about iPads. Android devices are real too, and they're growing. We launched an Android version. We launched it with Verizon for an exclusive period of time. Why? Because we're preloaded on a number of their Samsung Galaxy Tab devices, and more. We will be preloaded on more devices as they come to market. Also, we bill directly through Verizon, which is very useful. So you have your 2 weeks free. If you're interested in purchasing it, you push the button and you buy it. We're not working yet with Google Checkout, though of course we will be. And finally, mobile. One of the things that our subscribers ask for the most is, when are you going to be on a cell phone? When can I pop out a phone from my pocket, look at it for a minute or two, and then and then turn it off? We talk about how different we are from traditional magazines and the web. We talk about the rich photography. We talk about custom-made content for the iPad. How does that translate into a mobile device? It's something that we've been working a lot on. I mean, these are just some examples of one thing that we think translates well, which is infographics. And some infographics that we did for the tablet, which work a lot on mobile. Expect to hear more about this from us in the coming weeks. And that's my presentation, but we have time for some questions. Thank you.
I wanted to ask, what do you know now about the business model? But maybe
people pay. No, but I'll tell you.
Okay, no, I mean, the big question was all of this investment, an enormous amount of investment. I won't hold you to confirming what the number was that was.
No, I don't even know the number.
But what do you know now about what the prospects are for making this a sustainable model, or at least what you think it will take to support this level of production and independent reporting?
So I mean, what we've discovered, what we've been discovering, is that people pay for content. But half our revenue is advertising based. Half of it comes from actual subscription and subscribers, and people are paying for it. Right? They're paying, again, about 55% of our readers are annual. And they're renewing, right? We launched a year ago, and we're seeing very healthy renewal, amongst those initial subscribers. We're seeing more companies in the online space actually beginning to not have the cold feet anymore about paying for content. I think the New York Times has been very successful with their paywall. I think the Wall Street Journal has been doing it for a long time, is very successful with theirs as well. If you create original, unique, exclusive content for the device, again, it's a new app every day. Right, it's 120 pages of new app every day. People have been willing to pay for it. I mean, we're thrilled.
Promotion, circulation growth. What have been the strategies for sort of keeping the brand up and in people's minds and keeping that growth curve?
Yeah, so we've been marketing it. I mean, there's a couple of different things, right? We launched it, and we were the first subscription app. So we launched in partnership with Apple on that. We were the first newsstand app We are always sort of willing to be that first, app over the transom when Apple does new and interesting things with the device, which is very helpful for us. And things like what we're doing with Verizon, where we're preloaded on their devices. If you go into a Verizon store and you buy an Android tablet, we're going to come on that. Right? And that type of thing is useful on a couple of methods. One, it's great distribution, but the other is it's great marketing for us. We've been in Verizon ads. You'll see us in store. And we do our own marketing. I mean, we do our own online marketing. We're having an event at South by. If anyone's going to be there, just let me know. Sorry.
Hi, Tony Jarvis, Olympic Media Consultancy. In the last couple of days, we got a lot into the whole privacy area. So what assurances do you give your subscribers, which I think would also perhaps give comfort to advertisers and agencies, in terms of any, that you never see a unique identifier, you will never use their data, or if you do use their, can you just expand on that?
No, we give
it's a very important area for all of us in this space as it grows and develops, and apparently, every move we make is now tracked and is given access to publishers, whether we pay or not.
Yeah, no, look, it's a very important question and a very good question. We have a very strong privacy policy, which we publish with every issue. We don't share user data, and we're very clear about that. We're able to take stuff in aggregate, so I can say our average user is 35, but I don't go out and say, and his name is Bob, and he eats these things, and you can find him at 405 Westminster. I don't know why I said Westminster, and it's the accent. But it's we're don't know. I'm here.
I wanted to ask, so you mentioned that you have a lot of your users have other news apps, and I was curious if you've explored with them how the audience distinguishes between the many aggregators that's sort of got a very high profile on like Flipboard, like Site, and the Daily, and what of difference they get between among those different apps, how they think about those.
Well, one of the things is that there are more of them than there are of us. I mean, as we've seen, there's Flipboard, there's Pulse, there's News.me, there's Zeit, there's Google's got one, Yahoo's got LiveStand, AOL. Like, there's a lot of different aggregators, and some of them are more popular, some of them are less, some of them are better, some of them are worse. They all have sort of slightly different, it's your Twitter feed, or it's your Google Reader, or it's magazines that we've recommended, or it's sort of socially based. Whereas, and for I know for some of our audience, that's a little confusing. We are a just different proposition. We're a media brand, right? We are a media brand with our own unique content, with our own unique coverage, with our own unique voice, and as you're sort of beginning to use the iPad device to be able to consume, magazines and newspapers, we are more, we enter via that consideration set, right? What magazines are like, who do I like reading? Who looks the best? What is the best design, right? Versus where's the one place where I can get all my stuff together at once? And I think they're different use cases. I mean, I certainly use them differently.
Is there any brand confusion between Wall Street Journal and the Daily? Do some people subscribe to the Daily thinking, oh, I probably get a lot of the same stuff if I subscribe to this?
No.
You've
No,
distinguished the brands.
it's very, very different, yeah.
Greg Clayman, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.